Hello, welcome to More Yoga with me, Emily. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope that you were feeling well today and ready for some, I never know what to call them. Heart openers sounds kind of froofy. Uh, Back extensions is more what they are, but it's, yeah, anyway, that's what we're going to be doing. We're going to be bending backwards, not a huge back bend, in order to get into the chest. So I think that's probably why they're called heart openers. But it takes a lot of strength through the back line of the body, in order to get into these poses. This does not bode well if I have to keep talking for another half an hour and I've already jumbled my words so much. Um, if you have a strap or a dowel, it can be really handy, though totally unnecessary if you don't have something like this. You can even use a belt or a length of rope. Um, it's just a nice tool to use, and I'm going to be using it a little bit today, not a lot. So there we go. Let's start in a seated position. I'm sitting up on a chip foam block. It just helps. It lifts your hips up ever so slightly. They can release through the hip flexors a little bit more. And it means that your spine can be long as you're sitting without rounding or without feeling like you really have to brace to keep your spine long. So maybe you find something to sit up on, like a pillow or something like that. You don't have to. And then you could have your legs outstretched, or you could have your legs crisscross applesauce. You don't have to do this sort of yoga tucking of the heels thing if you don't want to. In fact, it's quite weird and it's pretty deep flexion on the knees, but do whatever feels comfortable for you. Okay, enough. When you found a position that works for you, close your eyes. Unless that triggers something or you feel your eyelids flickering, then just a single point of focus for your eyes on the floor or the wall in front of you. And then for a few breaths, inhale through your nose. Exhale, sigh your breath away. A couple more. And then continue breathing however feels best for you. It could be in and out through your nose or your mouth. Maybe you're stuffed up. Breathe how you need to breathe. And then notice how your breath is flowing. How does it feel? Does it flow differently here as we start seated than when we start supine or on our backs? Do you feel more supported with the breath as you sit? Do you feel less supported? Simply notice. And as always, the longer that we are here, the more likely it is that little thoughts will start to sneak in. Your mind might start to chase them. So when you notice that happening, simply acknowledge whatever thought you might be having. Doesn't matter what it is. Without judgment, right? And then let it go so that you can bring your focus back to your breath. So it no longer matters what has happened in your day so far or what you need to do when you leave your mat or your practice today. The only thing that matters at this very instant is your breath. And we're going to start to move with the breath here. You can keep your eyes closed if you wish. On your inhale, start to lift your chest up to the sky. Little squeeze of the shoulder blades toward each other. And as you exhale, round through your spine. Pull through the shoulder blades. And then inhale, rock forward onto those sit bones. Lift your heart up to the sky. Exhale, rock back and round through your spine. So seated cat and cow, or flexion and extension of the spine, right? Already we're getting into these little mini back bends. But with the hips pinned on the floor, yeah, the range of motion or movement is probably not as big as it would be. Last breath here. All right, on your inhale, come back to center. If your legs are crossed, you want to switch the crossing of the legs. You can switch the crossing if you want. Excuse me. Whew. Let's take a little twist. So reach your arms up to the sky. On your exhale, start to twist to the left. So the right hand comes forward, the left hand comes behind you. And we did this in the last class too. Press the fingertips of the hand that's back, the left hand, into the floor so that you find more length through the spine. So you're not twisting with a rounded spine. And with each exhale, maybe you twist a bit deeper. You can use the hand on the thigh even to kind of not yank, but use a bit of tension to twist a bit deeper, but make sure that right hip doesn't reach forward. So wrap it back in line. So the twist really is through the spine and the pelvis isn't compensating here. All right, and then inhale, come back to center. You can do the arms if you want to, you don't have to. And then exhale, twist to the right. So the right hand comes behind you this time. Make sure the left hip isn't wrapping forward. So wrap it back in line. And then with every inhale, find a little bit more lift. With every exhale, maybe you twist a bit deeper. You don't have to. And you might be wondering, what do twists have to do with spinal extensions? Well, if there's anything sticky, inhale back to center, shake it all out. We're trying to get into movement of all directions of the spine so that if there's anything that's stuck or tight, we'll have a bigger range of motion for later. Okay, reach your right arm up to the sky. Left fingertips come to the floor. Lift nice and tall here. And then as you exhale, start to side bend over to the left. Now you might need to take some time to ease into it. Notice immediately this bottom shoulder is going to want to come up. So wrap it onto your back. And then root the right sit bone down as much as you're reaching the right fingertips away from you. You might press the left hand away from you on the floor to kind of puff up into the ribs on the right side, getting a lot of extension on the right side, pretty deep flexion on the left side, but without collapsing. Maybe you spiral those upper right ribs open to the sky a little bit more. And then slowly come back to center. Let's switch sides. So left arm reaches up high. Inhale here. Exhale over to the right. Again, take some moments to ease into it, particularly if you're hearing clunking. And then start to root the left sit bone down as you reach the left fingertips away from you. Make sure this bottom shoulder is not creeping up to your ear. You could press the right hand away from you to get deeper into the left side of the body. And then think of opening your chest or those left ribs up to the sky. And then inhale, come back to center, shake it all out. So let's link all of those movements together. We'll start to do rotations with the spine. So on your exhale, come forward. And then inhale, come back up. And exhale down. And then this could be really floppy if you want to, getting a little bit more lateral flexion and extension. It could be sharp and fiery. If you're dizzy, then keep a single point of focus for your eyes on the floor rather than letting the head flop around. One more here. And then on your next exhale, switch directions. By moving however you need to move, however feels best. And then Come back to center. Whew. Gather your equilibrium if, like me, you're a little bit dizzy. And interlace your palms together, or fingers together rather. Press your palms away from you. Inhale up overhead. Now your elbows can be deeply bent here. They don't need to be straight. Lift tall, and then take a little mini back bend. Mini back bend, right? Because as we're seated here, we can't squeeze the bum, right, as much to protect the low back. So think of just from the shoulder blades up, little back bend, and then back to center. Shake it all out. Unwind your legs. Let's meet on hands and knees. Take your time getting there. Maybe you need to adjust your clothes or shake things out a little bit. And then plant your hands outer shoulder width apart or wider, knees underneath hips. We'll start to move through cat and cow. So inhale to come into cow. Exhale, round through your spine into cat. So now that our hips are no longer pinned on the floor, there's probably a much greater range of motion that you can feel here in the spine. Every single time we come into cow, that's a back bend, right? That's a heart opener. And then maybe there's some other natural movement that would feel good here. If your low back is tight, the further you send your hips back toward your heels as you round into cat, the more you're going to feel the release into the lumbar spine. Just go where you need to go. All right. And then come back to center. Depending where you are on your mat, you might need to walk your hands forward or your knees back a little bit. But then on your inhale, I want you to shift your weight forward into your hands. So low plank, or rather plank. You could be on your knees or on your toes. You could also be on your forearms if being up on your hands is a bit too much for the wrists. Squeeze your bum. Squeeze the tops of the thighs. Draw your lower ribs up to the sky and press the floor away from you a little bit more. Couple more breaths here. And then look to the top edge of your mat. You can always come down to your knees first. As you exhale, lower all the way down to the earth. Little wiggle of your hips from side to side. Once you get there, make sure your strap is nearby if you're using one. And then bring your forehead to the earth. Untuck your toes. Press the tops of the feet into the floor. Really active. So you're pressing them into the floor so much you might feel the kneecaps lift away. Send your tailbone to the back wall. Draw your belly button toward your spine. And wrap your shoulder blades onto your back. And on your inhale, lift the heart forward and up. Baby cobra. Exhale, lower back down. So a couple more of these on your own time, on your own breath. Can you really squeeze your bum as you move here, though? Hands could hover or come off the mat. You could press up higher. You can even take a little bit of lateral movement here as you lift up and down, kind of like a charmed cobra. The next time you come all the way down, release one cheek to the earth. Take deep belly breaths to release to the lower back. All right, and then come back to center. Get your legs activated again, squeeze the bum, and then interlace your hands behind your head, not behind your neck, but behind the back of your head. And try not to press down with the hands. And then lift your elbows off the floor. Wrap your shoulder blades toward each other. Maintaining this activation on your inhale. Lift the heart up off the floor. Now you're not going to get as high as you did before. And then exhale, come back down. So the idea here is that we're using the hands to keep the back of the neck long and using them as feedback. So you think of pressing your head up into your hands. Also adding a little bit of weight at the the top end of the lever makes it quite a bit more challenging. Couple more. Inhale to lift. Exhale to lower. And release. Opposite cheek to the earth to balance out your neck. Maybe take a little wiggle. All right. If you have a strap, this is now where I want you to grab it. Bring it behind you. And then palms facing up. Now, if you don't have a strap, don't worry about it. You could just clasp your hands and keep your elbows bent or straight. Sorry, my head is lifted. I don't know why. It should be on the floor. I've got a microphone. I don't need to lift my head for you to hear me. Get all the activations going again. Press the tops of the feet into the floor, tailbone to the back wall, belly button to spine. Wrap your shoulder blades toward each other. And then if you have a strap, think of maintaining tension on the strap. And then inhale, lift up into your half locust. Keep the feet on the earth. And then wrap the shoulder blades toward each other. Maybe you start to de-weight the strap from your lumbar spine or from your bum. And then think of reaching your knuckles further back. This is a really great back bend / heart opener, whatever you want to call it. Keep breathing here. And then exhale, release down. One cheek to the earth. We're going to do one more set. You can choose if you want to change the grip on the strap. You might go palms facing down this time instead of up. If you're interlacing your hands, you might take the opposite thumb on top. Okay, come back to center. Get all the activations going. Wrap your shoulder blades toward each other. Inhale, lift up. Maybe you start to de-weight the strap and then reach it further back. Really squeeze the bum. Back of the neck stays long, right? You're not lifting your chin. We did all that work with our hands on the head so that you would keep one long line, this sort of parabolic shape. And then exhale, release all the way down. Opposite cheek to the earth. And then plant your hands just enough that you can press yourself back into child's pose. And move the strap off to the side. You could choose to have your knees together, getting more rounding through the spine. Or you might take the knees wide with the toes together. Give yourself a little bit more space to breathe, but you're still getting rounding through the spine. So wherever you need to go. All right. And then press yourself up either to hands and knees or to downward facing dog, whatever is going to work best for your body. And then press the floor away from you, bend your knees, exhale, walk, step, or hop to the top edge of your mat, standing forward fold. Couple breaths here, knees bent. You could bring hands to blocks or rest your elbows on your knees. Maybe clasp opposite elbows with hands. And just go where you need to go. Make sure your knees aren't caving in though. Send them out slightly to the baby toe edges of your feet. And then bend your knees. Glue your chin to your chest. Slowly start to roll up to standing. One vertebra at a time. As slow as you need to go. And eventually you come all the way up. Couple loops of your shoulders. Up, back, and down. A little wiggle. Noodle or shake out. All right, let's take a little twist from side to side. If you want, you could keep your feet planted, or you might shift the weight from one foot to the other, taking it into more of a sway. Right, again, just releasing a little bit of extra tension that might have built up through the spine. Okay, grab your strap. If you're using it, if you're not, don't worry about it. You don't have to. Similar sort of thing. And in fact, it's the exact same position that we were just doing on our bellies. We're now going to do standing. So feet hip width apart, little microbend on that knees, on the knees. Squeeze the bum, belly bend to spine, shoulder blades on your back. Now you might, if you don't have a strap, just bring your palms to your pelvis, wrap the shoulder blades and elbows toward each other. If you have a strap, palms face forward, wrap the shoulder blades and elbows toward each other. This might be enough for you. Just maintaining that tension. If you'd like to deepen it, then start to tilt backwards slightly. Maybe the hands reach away from you. Maybe the knuckles start to pull down or back, whatever feels best on your body. Really squeeze the bum though. Micro bend the knees. All right, inhale, come back up. And then release, shake it out. Ditch the strap. Shake out your arms. And let's get just a little counter stretch. So take your arms wide. Sweep left arm under the right. Doesn't really matter. We're going to do both. Bend your knees, pull the elbows forward, round through your spine. So we're not really going into eagle. We're just going into a nice spinal flexion. And then inhale. Come back up. Opposite arm this time comes underneath. Same thing. Bend your knees. Tuck your tailbone under. Round through your spine. And then inhale. Come back up. Shake everything out. And then come back to the top edge of your mat if you've wandered around like I have. And then inhale. Sweep your arms up to the sky. Exhale. Melt to the earth. Forward fold. Fingertips to shins. Inhale, little partway lift. Exhale, fold. Bend your knees, plant your hands, step back to hands and knees. There's a little bit of a cliffhanger there. Step back to where, Emily? Well, I had to remember where we were going. Okay, a little wiggle or shake or cat and cow. And then we're going to come up to full kneeling. So this might be a really great place to give yourself a bit of extra padding underneath your knees. You could accordion your mat or come up onto a chip foam block, although that can be kind of a narrow base of support. And in fact, I'm going to do it. So kind of just, as I say, accordioning. Welcome to verbing with Emily. Mat underneath you. And then try to get all 10 toes tucked if you can, unless that means your heels sort of wing out to the side in order to get the baby toes tucked. So get as much tucked as you can. And then hug the legs toward each other. Squeeze your bum like crazy. Like I want you to be making diamonds in your glutes right now. Belly button to spine. Shoulder blades on your back. You can use your strap if you want to. Or maybe you just bring your palms to your low back. Wrap the shoulder blades toward each other. Lift the heart up to the sky. So camel pose. Some of you might stay here. Some of you might grab the strap or clasp your hands behind your back and start to reach down. Some of you maybe bring the hands to the heels and press the hips forward. Wherever you are, I really want the back of the neck to stay long and squeeze the bum. All right, inhale, come all the way up. Exhale, round forward. Child's pose for a couple breaths. All right. And then slowly press yourself back up again. One last set. And then we'll come down to the mat. So again, hug the legs toward each other. Squeeze the bum like crazy. Belly bend to spine. Shoulder blades on your back. Maybe you float your hands to prayer this time. Lift the heart up to the sky. This might be enough. Maybe you deepen it. Maybe you squeeze the bum so much that the hips press forward and the hands reach back. Right, go where you need to go. Don't feel like you need to match me or whoever else is in the room. Right. Back the neck stays long, which means not opening the chin, right? You can hear something weird in my voice. So, all right, inhale, come back up. Whew, exhale, release into child's pose. Breath slow and sweet. And slowly ripple forward onto your tummy and then roll over onto your back. That's how you know I've been spending a month at home with my kid, as I say tummy instead of belly. Anyway, draw your knees into your chest, take a little rock from side to side. And then let's move into a twist, which can feel really nice after deep spinal flexion and extension. So take your right arm out to the side. You might shift your hips right a little bit to start with. And then exhale, lower your knees to the left. As always, this can be any variation of twist that feels good for you, whether the knees are stacked, maybe you take a single leg twist or cross legs. And go where you need to go. And if you have pillows or blocks, you can bring them between your knees, underneath the bottom one, to give yourself a little bit more support. Try to let the feet really relax to the floor, though. You might look along your right arm just to finish off the spiral in your spine. Last breath here. So on your inhale, return to center, reset your pelvis and your spine, and then shift your hips left a little bit, maybe left arm out to the side, and exhale, lower your knees to the right. Again, it can be any variation of twist, and it doesn't have to be the same one on this side that you did on the first. Your left elbow might be bent or it might be extended. It might not make any difference at all. It might make all the difference in the world. Maybe you look along the left arm. And then slowly on your inhale, return to center. Again, reset excuse me, your pelvis and your spine. And then draw your knees toward you. Take them wide out toward your shoulders or armpits. You might stay here for Happy Baby. Happy Baby is a really great way to neutralize the spine. Or you might take your feet up to the sky. You could grab the backs of your thighs or somewhere along the legs, ankles, or the feet. You might rock a little bit from side to side. You could extend one leg or the other. So just go where you need to go. Last few breaths here. And then release your legs. If there's anything else that you feel like you need before your rest, please feel free to take it. Spinal. I was about to say spinal flexion extension, but you're probably done with those. And then make your way to your final resting pose. You could be flat on your back, legs bent or straight. In Shavasana, you could rest on your side, or in child's pose, or a seated meditation. And there's no rush to get there. But once you have found your pose of rest, for 3 breaths, inhale through your nose. And exhale, sigh your breath away. 2 more. And let go of your breath control. Let go of any last muscle gripping or tension, particularly in your face or your jaw. With each breath, let your body melt a little bit deeper into the earth. And again, thoughts may come and go. Acknowledge them without judgment, but let them go. Stay here longer if you can, 5 or 10 minutes. Thank you so much for joining me today. Namaste.